Hey, good morning to everybody. Happy Sunday. It's Daryl here. It is bright and freaking early, man. It's 3 a.m. here in Connecticut on the East Coast. What I'm actually doing right now at 3 a.m. Sunday morning, September the 24th, 2023, I'm sitting here and I'm waiting for my other channel to come back on. As you know, if you've been watching the videos this week on this channel, Staying Clean, you'll know that this is what I call my secondary, my backup channel. My main channel, I've got over 3,700 subscribers. I've got over 600,000 views, total views. I've made 2,200 videos. I'm waiting for it to get turned back on right now. I thought it should have been. It really should have been turned on by now. It's been over 7 days. They time it right to the minute. And I'm sitting here. I actually did 4 videos yesterday. I did 2 videos on here and 2 videos in preparation for my other channel being turned back on. So I'm sitting here and I'm waiting for the suspension to turn off and for them to turn off the block that I could start downloading on I have 2 videos all ready to go on Artist in Recovery. So I'm sitting here and I'm not used to not making a video in the morning. So I said, you know what? I'm going to turn it on and I'm just going to talk about whatever. I want to talk about my recovery. As I was sitting here this morning, I could hear people across the street. I got about 2 a.m. and I could hear people outside partying and yelling and everything. It's a house about a block up the road. And I could see them on the back porch. Like I said, it's a block over and a block down. And I could see between the houses, and I could see them standing on the porch. And they're all buzzed. Hey, maybe it's somebody's birthday or anything. But it reminded me of where I used to be. And for a lot of people that look at me right now, it's been over 17 years. I'm coming up on 17 years clean and sober. But if you look at me right now, it's a very different person. I've come a long way. And the reason I talk about this is I really feel the reason I'm still here, that I came close to overdosing and all sorts of car accidents, all sorts of things. I think the reason I'm still here and the reason that I was able to finally get clean is to tell people that recovery is possible, to give hope to people. And I just want to share my thoughts with you this morning. Like I said, as I was looking at those people over there, I remember this comes across my mind a lot. I remember where I was 17 years ago. Like right now, if I was still the person I was 17 years ago, what would I be doing? I would be awake. I probably would be smoking the rock. Actually, the rock probably would have ran out, and I'd be scraping up change. That's seriously what I'd be doing. I weighed about probably almost 300 pounds. All my teeth were rotted and broken off at the gum line. I mean, every single tooth was rotted and broken off at the gum line. I was cutting my own hair. I hadn't been to a barber in 15 years, I think, and I just cut my own hair with scissors. So you can imagine what I look like. 100 pounds heavier, no muscle tone, man boobs. I'd go for days without eating, and then I'd find whatever the cheapest food I could eat and just gorge myself on it. And that's how I put on a lot of weight. Some people lose weight when they're using, some people gain it. And I was one of the people that gained it. I had all holes burned in my shirt because I was also using heroin. I was a hardcore heroin addict. I initially was a crack addict. Back when I was 20 years old, I started dealing cocaine, using cocaine and dealing it. And then I started using crack. And then I started using my supply. And I turned into a full-blown crack addict. I lost several good jobs, one after the next. I lost apartments. I lost girlfriends, prospective future wives. Hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars I spent on drugs. And that's where I would be this morning. I would be probably on the floor looking for crumbs on the floor. People laughed at Hunter Biden when he talked about that he'd be on the floor looking for crumbs. That's really what, if you're familiar with crack, that's what crack users do. And that's probably seriously where I would be this morning. I'd probably be starting to be getting sick from heroin, because by 7 a.m. I'd have to go find heroin every single day. It was a nightmarish life. I talked about this. You know how you have a nightmare, you're sleeping, right? And you have a nightmare, terrible nightmare, and you wake up and you're like, oh my God. But then you slowly realize that it was a dream, right? And you get that rush of relief, like, oh my God, thank God that was just a dream. I'm here, I am in my beautiful life. It was the opposite for me. Seriously, it got to the point where I would wake up and I would realize what my life was like. That I would wake up feeling sick, dope sick, and I would wake up into the nightmare. All of a sudden, I would realize what I would have to go do that day, what I would have to lie, cheat, steal, and that was every day. And that's how I felt in the mornings. I felt like I was waking up into the nightmare instead of the other way around. Seriously. I remember this one time looking out the window, and I could see people going to work in the morning. I'd been up all night, and I could see a Cumberland Farms gas station, and I could see people going to work, stopping, gassing up their cars. And at that moment, I could not remember. It looked so foreign to me. It looked like I was watching aliens on another planet. Like I couldn't imagine what it would be like to go to work, to own a car, to have money to gas it. Seriously, because I never had a penny on me. I pawned everything in my house. When I looked at those people going to work, I'm like, how do they do that? That's so, I can't even imagine getting up and having money and putting it in my, being able to put it in my car. Seriously. And at that moment, man, I still remember that. That was one of the times it was one of the scariest times. I felt so ostracized, so pulled out of society, like I was not part of the human race. It looked like I was watching, like I said, it looked like I was watching aliens in a movie or something. I was outside my window. It had become so foreign to me, the daily routine of actually going to work and having money and all that. That's where I was, and this is where I am now. I'll leave you guys with this one last thing. The thing that actually worked for me after 13 trips into recovery, the thing that finally worked was medically assisted treatment, methadone. Me and my family, I didn't want to use it. I figured it was just another drug. My sister actually drove people. She was in transportation, and she drove methadone addicts once in a while, and she did not have a good opinion of methadone, and I had hesitated ever trying it, and I got in the program. I actually used heroin right in the parking lot before I went in the first time, and about 2 or 3 weeks later, I was still going and buying heroin every day. I was spending $30 on what they call a half bundle, 5 bags of heroin every day. And it was doing no good because the methadone was blocking the heroin. It blocked the receptors. So I was spending my money every day, and I knew this, and I was still doing it. That's how deep I was into the addiction, that it didn't matter if I just go and spend my money. I dropped $35 on 5 bags just because, even though the methadone, the heroin was being blocked by the methadone. And shortly after that, I got this, I don't know what you call it, man. It's a moment of clarity where all of a sudden I realized, I was like, I actually feel good. And that's when I started walking and exercising. Like I actually felt like part of society again. I was like, I think I can actually do this. I might be able to actually do this. And I got hope on that one day. I'm going to start crying. I got hope on that one day, and that turned everything around. And then I wanted to quit from then on, when I got the hope back that I could do it. And it took me a while. I relapsed probably 2 or 3 times until the final day when I had a horrific day using. I would wait about 2 or 3 months. I was going to the methadone clinic, and I'd save up a couple $100, and then I would go use all by myself, smoke crack. And this one last day, on October 23rd, 2006, I had the worst day. I did it. I came back into the methadone clinic the next morning and I got a urine, so I lost all my privileges. I got pulled over by the police that night several times. They searched the car, lost the keys to my car. The car actually just stopped and died, and I couldn't turn it on. I had all my little stash of rock, and I locked myself out of the car with the rock inside the car. And I was so desperate to get to my drugs that I actually called the police to open up my car so I could get to the drugs. Yeah, that's where I was on that last day. It was the worst day of my life. And I asked myself, and it ended with me scraping change together. And it was cold on that October 23rd. I remember I was sitting in a parking lot and I had the last of my change. I went through $300 that day. Pulled over by the police. They were still looking for me at that time. And I was waiting in a parking lot to meet, and I couldn't get a hold of my dealers. And I had the last of my change that I scraped together. It was actually a roll or two that I had stolen from somebody else, from a friend, just stolen change. And I had $20 in change. And I couldn't get a hold of any of my regular dealers. And I was sitting alone in a dark parking lot watching people go in and out of the store, buying stuff for Halloween. And I was all alone. And I was waiting for a dealer that I hadn't met before. Somebody gave me his number. And he kept saying he was going to be there. And I was waiting hours in the dark, in the cold, all by myself, sitting in a car with the last of my change, waiting to give it to somebody that I didn't even know, just so I could use for not even 5 minutes, because that's all it would last for. And then I would feel 10 times worse after that was done, so I could just feel that little rush for two minutes, so I was sitting in a dark, cold parking lot, watching families go in and out of the store, going shopping and stuff, in the dark, in the cold. I didn't want to turn the car on to attract attention. To give $20 in the last of my change, last of my pennies and stolen change, to a man I didn't even know, and he wasn't even showing up. I waited there for hours, and I ended up going home. And that was the last day I ever used. 17 years ago. It's coming up on 17 years, and I haven't even smelled it. I haven't seen it. I haven't touched it. Crack, pills, heroin, coke, none of it. And the methadone helped me. And it took a while. It took a while to get, it took me years I was clean, but I stayed in the program for years. And it was the best thing I ever did. All right, I can see I've been talking for a while. Hopefully my channel's on. I'll leave a link to Artists in Recovery, and hopefully I'll be downloading a video back from my 7-day suspension in a few minutes there. I've got it all set to go, telling them why I was here and why I was suspended, because I didn't get to tell them why I was suspended. I hope this video made sense. Obviously, I didn't practice at all. I just felt like talking to you guys before I had a little spare time on my hands at 3 in the morning. Have a good Sunday.